Hey everybody, it's Alicia Atout, and welcome back to Knotfest Heavy Conversations. I'm joined by Staypuft, Mallow, Tori, Kravitz, and Daniel Dekay. So how is the panel doing today?
Doing swell.
Living the
dream. Yeah, it's a Monday, as good as you can on a Monday.
I feel like every time
Mondays.
we gotta face the Mondays too. I feel like it's getting to the point where we all say, hey, we have tons of coffee in us, we get to talk some metal, everything's gonna be fine.
I mean, I get to see you all, so my Mondays have never been better. Really.
Aww.
Tori,
You
come on.
flatter us.
You're pulling at my heartstrings.
So sweet.
Oh, anytime.
Here's something else that's actually been pulling on some fans' strings here, as Godsmack dropped their first new song in 4 years, which serves as the lead single from an upcoming 8th record. However, the band Sully Erna actually shared how this is the last record they are ever going to do, because many fans aren't interested, apparently, in new music from a band that have been around for as long as they have. So what's everyone's take on this, kind of focusing on the hits, not only just in regards of not putting out new music, but also at live shows? Tori, let's start with you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think I have an interesting perspective because, I've been doing music journalism for a long time, but now I also work a bit in the business side too as a publicist. So I'm quite hands-on when it comes to like fans and seeing how the creative process goes down. And I mean, just my personal opinion, it seems like some bands start to get treated like machines these days because it's just a constant release cycle. Like you release something and like as that's coming out, you're already working on the next album. It's one after another. So Godsmack being a band for 3 decades, that must be, just so much creative output all the time. And I thought it was such a great point that the reality is they have enough hits and a strong enough legacy that they can still pull fans to the shows. And a lot of people are there, honestly, to hear voodoo, let's be honest. So, I love the new stuff too, don't get me wrong. I'm like mad big Godsmack fan. But yeah, I think like it's totally valid that if they're not feeling the passion in the music anymore and they're really putting their all into this final album the way that they say they are, then yeah, let them like ride the wave of this new music, continue to play the songs we all know and love from them. And better to do that than release music that feels forced or uninspired.
No, absolutely true. And John, what's your take on it all?
Yeah, I agree for the most part. Like Tori said, they've been around for 3 decades. They have, and one of the points that Sully made was the fact that, yeah, we could have all of these albums come out, but everyone's still going to want us to play Voodoo or I Stand Alone or Awake or like all of these songs. So that's, 3/4 of the set list right there. Kind of like what we were going back to with the NoFX conversation we had a couple of weeks or a month ago. I don't even know at this point around here, but when a band has been doing their thing for as long as they've been doing, I feel like they have the license to really do whatever it is that they want, right? And if Godsmack wants to, not produce any albums anymore, but still play the one-off shows in like big arenas or amphitheaters or anything like that and do that, they have the power to do that. I do think, though, that maybe we should look inwards a little bit as ourselves as music fans sometimes to be like, well, if these bands don't want to put out anything new because only people want to listen to, the stuff that they've done 20 years ago, what does that say about us as music listeners? I don't really know. I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but just like one of those things to think about that, man, are we in such sorry of a state that a band doesn't want to create music anymore because people only want to hear the stuff they did 15, 20 years ago? I don't know.
I'm afraid to say the answer. That might be yes, but that's kind of my favorite.
I guess it depends on the band, right?
For sure, of course. How about you, D?
John, that's actually a really interesting point. The perspective of like, are we just that shitty of listeners that, bands aren't motivated because we're not supporting albums the way we used to? I think that's actually a really interesting point to bring up. For me, I look at it from more of a creative standpoint. Like, these are people who are in our lives and we're fans of because they're creators and they are creatives and they're better at it than us. And that's why they are where they are. And if they don't feel the need to be creative anymore, and if they feel like they're just going through the motions to please management or to please a label, and, the fans don't even really care about the new record, then like, I'm all for it. If, it takes a lot of balls to come out and be like, hey, we're not doing records anymore. Like, thanks, thanks for coming out, but we don't need to do that anymore. I'll say it from a fan perspective as well. Like, Godsmack may not be the band for me, but I like plenty of bands that are in their 3rd, 4th, and 5th decade existing. And I'll be honest, man, it's nice when they release a new album, and I think it's all the power to them. But when I'm buying that expensive ticket to that show, I'm really hoping I'm hearing stuff from the first 20 years of the catalog. You know?
Mhm.
As a fan, that's kind of, why I'm there. So, yeah, I vibe with, the way that Sully put it, and the fact he came out and put it, so elegantly and said, these are
He
our
did.
accolades. This is yeah, he did it very well. I
Mhm.
I don't think one can really argue with him. It's the last thing you want to, as a fan of a band, the last thing you ever want to be is like feel like you're forcing an artist to put out music that they don't want to against their will. That's like an awful feeling. So I'm all for it, man.
Now, so many amazing points are made across the board, and I agree with all of you from different stances. And I feel like there are two sides to it. It's just appreciating whatever the artist kind of wants to do in the end. So, hey, if they're just not feeling it anymore, they don't feel it's worth it because they're not being listened to by the fans, then I mean, all the power to them for actually coming out and saying it. I remember interviewing a band who were like super big in the emo scene. I don't want to call them out, so I won't name drop, but in the actual interview, and they had some huge singles in the early 2000s. I remember the lead vocalist mentioning how no one wants to hear the hits, they only want the new material. And I just remember thinking, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, everyone would love to hear the hits. I'm a huge fan of the combination of the two, but at the same time, I kind of feel like if an entire show kind of feels like an encore, or an extended encore that is, then every night it's just banger after banger. That's also kind of cool too if fans want to take that route. So for me, it's up to whatever the artists want to do, because I really do feel like it is that creative freedom. But everything that Sully said, I can back up. I can't say, hey, he's wrong, he's this or that, because if that's where they're at right now in their careers, then that's just where it's at. So hopefully maybe we'll get a single here or there. They never ruled that out, however. So we'll have to see what's on the horizon for the band. But this is kind of the point in the show where we always talk about amazing festivals. And with Aftershock Festival right on the horizon, it's going to be a special all about that specific festival. And I know many of our Knotfest hosts will be down there. So panel, who is hyped? Who do you want to see? And of course, who is going to be front and center at the festival? I know you will be, Tori.
Yeah, man. There's some really great bands playing this. I mean, those festivals always kick ass. But first of all, we got to give a shout out to the Knotfest Roadshow lineup playing day one: Slipknot, Crown the Empire, and Ice Nine Kills. So that's a must see. All three of those bands. I actually also want to mention. I know John, a couple episodes ago, you said Zeal and Ardor, which must agree, a must see. Always put on a great show. I got you, dude.
Yeah, hell yeah. I was just in Denver this weekend seeing them, so I'm right there with you.
That's awesome.
It was sick, right? Like, everybody should be seeing them at Aftershock. You'd agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think also day one we have Nothing More playing, which I think they put on such a great show live. Everybody should see them once. And my personal guilty pleasure, but I'm not too guilty to admit it, the Struts are playing on day 4, and I think they are so much fun.
Fucking love the Struts. Just such good rock and roll nostalgia. They're great.
Yeah, and I love when a band puts together the fashion aesthetics and a good showmanship along with great music. So yeah, that'll be a fun one.
Definitely. How about you, Dee? Who are some artists to watch?
So I mean, obviously I would be, remiss if I didn't just open up with saying the hottest band in the world, Kiss, is playing. Let's be real. Yeah, can't wait for that. It'll probably be my 26th Kiss show or something.
Holy shit, 26 times.
Yeah, at least, to be honest. If we start including acoustic performances and etc., I mean, we'll get into an even higher count. But yeah, very excited for that. Love them. My favorite band ever, #1. But there's tons of awesome shit. As a guitar player, I gotta say I'm really stoked for guys like Jared James Nichols, who is straight forward-thinking guitar-based blues hard rock. Super stoked on him. Muse puts on one of the best shows in the business. For the heavier shit, we got Gwar, Meshuggah, my dudes in Alexis on Fire playing, Code Orange, Prong, come on, Helmet. There's tons of great stuff. All the bases are covered. And then if that doesn't do it for you, motherfucking Glenn Danzig. Let's be real. It's a stacked festival. A little bit of something for everyone. I'm really hyped to be back in SAC for that one.
That's awesome. And John, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that just even that first day, the headliner is going from Evanescence to Rob Zombie to Slipknot. I mean, come on, like what? Like, what are you going to be doing during that time? You're going to be sitting in the field doing that. Everybody's already mentioned so many good bands. I think the only ones that I have to shout out my boys in Clutch. Always, always, always a good show when Clutch comes to town. They just played Nashville last weekend, and it was always an amazing time. And even though I wouldn't call him a metal artist or a rock artist by any stretch of the imagination, got to give it up for Amigo the Devil, who's going to be playing a full band show at that festival. I've seen him so many times. Each of his shows is just like an immersive experience. I have cried at one of his shows before because his music is that powerful. And I saw some previews and some footage of his set at Louder Than Life, and it just looked like there was a sea of people everywhere, and everybody was really into the music. And he's been touring with his full band for what seems like the past like year and a half, 2 years, getting out of the pandemic. And he's an artist that everybody needs to listen to because he just finds that id that makes us all so human and can relate to each other. And it's almost like every song he's singing about you. And I think that's really hard as an artist to do. So Amigo the Devil, Zeal and Ardor, check them out.
Man, it's so insane to think that all of those bands that you named, all three of you, are on the same bill. That's absurd to me. Like, what a fucking crazy few days. For me, though, I have to obviously go with D on this. Like, Kiss, if I were attending this week, would be the #1 band for me to see. Just from the Paul Stanley-isms that go throughout the entire show, the theatrics, from the fireworks, the flying. Like, it's such a good show. And of course, you just get to listen to classic after classic. So very, very envious of everyone who gets to check out Kiss that weekend, along with all of the other amazing bands. So of course, for your full Aftershock Festival coverage, interviews, and updates, be sure to follow us at Knotfest on all socials, everybody, because if you aren't already, what have you been doing this whole time? There's gonna be a lot of sweet content coming your way, so get with it. And next up is the newest track we're loving, or just something that's a little bit nostalgic that we're currently listening to. So John, take this one away.
Yeah, so I had the good fortune of having one of the anonymous founders of Garia on first listen stream we did a week ago, and that record is just really fucking good. They released a new song from it called Laud. It's the closing track on the album with a kind of like stitched together live video from the performances they've been doing over the summer, and it's just like, I mean, they call it cathartic black metal, and it feels every bit as cathartic as they say, because you get through with these songs and it's like it runs the gamut of like gorgeous black metal to intense brutality to everything in between. So you feel like you've just been rinsed by the time that closing track Laud gets done, and you just have to kind of sit there for a few minutes to take in everything that you've just done. Yeah, so that's the track that I've been spinning a lot from their album Mirage. Go listen to it, everybody.
I remember listening to them for the first time when they did our virtual Pulse of the Maggots festival, and it was just so cinematic and magical, the whole thing. So I definitely want to get on the new stuff that they're releasing right now. But Tori, how about you? Who are you currently loving?
Yeah. Well, first of all, ditto on that. And you always have such a great way of selling an album. I feel like every time I watch this thing, I come back, I'm like, wow, that sounds like a really good album. I should listen
I'm doing my job then. Hell yeah.
You are.
Right? Excelling.
Great work. For me, I have to say LS Dunes, like the new super group. They just released, I was like a week and a half ago, their new single 2012. And it's members of Circa Survive, My Chemical Romance, Thursday, and Coheed and Cambria. So it's as unique as the group itself. You know, each member comes to the table with their own influences, and that's pretty evident when you listen to that track. Lyrically, super heavy, really intense. And I feel like it also made me a little bit nostalgic, because I'm going to age myself real quick. It reminds me of like this generation's Isles and Glaciers a little bit, like just super group emo, super group let's go. But there's like hints of post-hardcore, melodic rock, some punk in there. So I'm really looking forward to as well. They're coming out with a full album in November. So it'll be a sick one.
I love when we end things with 2 thumbs up every time. We know that means it has the full stamp of approval. Straight up.
Utmost enthusiasm right here.
D, who are you going with?
Before my pick, John, does Garia do interviews in like full anonymity, mask and all?
Yeah, he wore his mask on the stream and everything like that. So I didn't ask for his name. He didn't give it. So we went with the immersion, and that's what we did. Because Alicia, you've interviewed them as well, and they had the masks on as well.
Yep, it was the exact same situation. I feel like when you handle bands like that, whether it's them, Ghost, even in wrestling, I'm so used to like the whole kayfabe aspect. It's so fun. The mystery behind it all, I love.
Yeah, bring the fun back to music. That's what I'm talking about. Hell yeah.
So with it.
Super stoked on a new single. The band's called Morbicon. The single is called Curse to March on Shattered Limbs. They got 2 singles right now. The full record's coming at the end of the month. It's Phil and Dave from Municipal Waste, the vocalist from Fintroll, so like, super group or whatever, if we're going to say that. But straight up, it is just some really fucking good European black metal. It's super dynamic. It's super fun. It's got all the elements, kind of like melodic-y and death thrash bits to like straight Euro black metal to all the like clean acoustic melodic segues. Like it's really all there. The production's really crisp. Everything's really clear, yet really evil sounding. It's being released on Tank Crimes, pretty much the best underground label in the business for all of eternity. You can trust anything that Scotty at Tank Crimes puts out. So new Morbicon, check it out. I'm telling you, it's a forerunner for what should be a late addition to Album of the Year list. It's super dope.
Fuck yeah.
Anytime there's a title like that, I'm already there for it, I got to venture in past that.
Yeah, and all you had to say was Municipal Waste already too.
That's
like,
so
done.
true as well. Yeah, I feel like
Phil and Dave, it's fucking rhythm section is the best part. It's awesome. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Good. That's awesome. For me, there's this band called the Eries, and I saw them open for the Used and Every Time I Die, and I instantly became a fan leaving that concert. I was reminded of that gig the other day, and they have a track called Love You to Pieces. It's just very much grunge rock, tons of hints of punk rock in there too. The riffs are amazing, anthemic choruses, super, super melodic the whole way through. It's repetitive, but not to the point where you're like, okay, stop singing it over and over. Like there's purpose to everything that they choose to do, but very simplistic at the same time. So it's kind of just out there in terms of Nirvana fans, Stone Temple Pilots. They're just really crisp, really fun, and a little messy at times, but in a really cool way. So definitely check out the Eries. But everyone, that's all for today's show. So I want to say to those who are heading out to Aftershock, I hope you have the most kick-ass time, both on the panel, along with everyone who is watching. And speaking to watching, just thank you so much for watching another episode of Knotfest Heavy Conversations. On behalf of my awesome Knotfest panel, Staypuft, Mallow, Tori, Kravitz, and Daniel Dekay, I've been Alicia Atout, and we will see you next week. Bye, everybody.